This is Romo Dunze, and you're listening to the Ballsville podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome on, Ballsville gamers, to another episode of the Ballsville podcast. I am your host, Scott Fitzgerald. I go by Ludes for Sale on Sleeper. And this episode is brought to you by the Ballsville Games. Our games combine fantasy football and poker, which create big payouts with great odds. All right.
Big payouts, great odds.
Well, welcome all in, folks. It was a pretty uneventful weekend for me as far as fantasy. A lot of injuries. A lot of players did not perform. So it was a pretty rough week for me. I will get into my panel. My co-host, he's Bill's Mafia. He goes by Sklem on Sleeper, and he's got his Tiger King background going on. So what's up, Sklem?
Not much. Just hanging out with my tiger.
And back again, good old boy from West Texas. He is back again. He is the co-host of the Guillotine Pod on Mondays. You got to check that out. It's very entertaining. He goes by C-Bomb on Sleeper. What's up, Connor?
Yeah, what's up? I wasn't there yesterday. You filled in for me, but appreciate that.
One of our best episodes ever.
I know. I saw that.
I always don't mind to get on there. It's nice to be a co-host every now and again. I just sit back and let Sean just ramble on.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
Doing that for sure.
What's up, Zoobs? Zoobs is always in. Zoobs is like always the first in
right?
chat.
I think he is our most loyal listener at this point. I think he has earned the title of most loyal listener. You're a contributor, bro. I mean, Zoobs is too, but not to the level of like regular like you are now. You know, so. But Zoobs as a listener, Zoobs is in on a regular basis at all times, commenting consistently in between all his bear hunts and fishing trips and everything else he's got going on up there in the Great North. He is still here rocking it every week with us. Thank you, my friend.
Yep. And El Presidente's in the background also. What's up, Alex? So we before we get into the meat and potatoes of this pod, we have one thing to go over that's very, very important. Obviously we talked about last week about the hurricanes that in Florida. So us as a community, we love to give back to the gamers and help out as much as we can. And we've had some gamers that were definitely in had some devastating things happen to their life with the hurricanes. So I'm going to send it over to Sean. Sean set this all up. So I'm going to let Sean break this down.
Thank you, Scott, man. I appreciate that, brother. I mean, we did this together, so it's a group effort here because we just want to make sure that we can contribute however we can to helping out people that are going through this traumatic scenario right now. I mean, I couldn't imagine what it's like to see everything that I own basically out on the middle of the street and completely just destroyed. So, like for whatever they're going through right now, if there's anything we can do to help, like we want to. So that's what we're trying to do here. If you guys are in this thread right now, there is a link posted that we posted initially in the comments. So if you scroll to the very top of the comments, you'll see the link available for the GoFundMe. We just started it up today. We're looking to try to build it all the way through this week and culminating with our Sunday Ballsathon marathon that we're going to do, which I'll talk about here in just a second. But feel free to go ahead and donate if you can. Don't feel obligated, but feel free if you can, because every little bit's going to help. Whatever we can do, we want to do. So that being said, on Sunday, what we are going to do is we're hoping this is going to turn into a really fun thing for you guys because, if we can provide any relief, even if it's just comedy for now, then that's what we're going to try to do. So we're going to have basically kind of a fun roundtable. Imagine a virtual football party on Sunday. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do here. I'm sure that each of us is going to have our own version of barbecue in front of us at some point during the show. And we're trying to make it kind of like you're hanging out with your friends, having some fun watching football, And the whole point is to try to raise as much money as we can. So if you're enjoying yourself and you're having fun and you have a few extra dollars you can throw their way, please do that. And at worst case, come join us and have some good times and have some fun, because it's going to be a blast. Hopefully we'll be able to really enjoy the games. We'll talk about the games. We'll talk about things going on fantasy wise. We'll have different Ballsville personalities along with special guests popping in throughout the day. And it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So you guys, if you're able to do any kind of donations, please, and thank you so much. We appreciate anything and everything anybody can give. And also, if you're available on Sunday, please join us. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're just hoping that we can generate as much buzz as we can to try to generate as much money as we can for these guys.
So, yep. So, this is a first for us. Hopefully it will be a last in a good way. Hopefully there's no more devastation, but I know, with tornadoes.
Won't be the last time we try to raise money for a charitable cause. That's never going to be something that we stop trying to do, but definitely anything hurricane relief wise, it's the last time we want to have to worry about having to raise money for that. Jeez.
Yep, for sure. So, and it'll be a good time. Like I said, we're going to do some funny little stuff. We'll do some probably some, what are our top 10, football eats for the weekend. We'll do stuff like that. We'll just do little polls and just be interactive with the people.
Maybe we'll have an online hot dog eating contest. I mean, who knows? The sky's the limit.
Well, we'll have to find somebody for that. I don't know who's into that.
Yeah, but, hey, Joey Chestnut, if you out there, brother, feel free to jump on in on Sunday, and we'll do a hot dog eating contest. I'm sure you'll kick my butt, but I'd love to try.
I think your tiger got it, though.
yeah, probably. I want to welcome in Jerry. So Jerry B83 in chat. What's happening, Jerry? And I want to welcome back Thomas Redmond. Welcome back in, Thomas. Thomas has been new to our community. Welcome in, and we we like how you guys come in right away, geared up, ready to go for the pod. So yeah. So other than that, we're gonna get in. Oh, okay. So Thomas's name's Dark Knight here. So.
Oh, nice. Tom27 on Discord.
All right, sweet.
Have you in, my friend.
Welcome in and pass the word along, guys. It's word of mouth with the pod, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps a lot too. So, all right. Zubikis just said huge Kamara news just dropped. Did anybody hear that?
No. Is it bad news or good news, Zoobsies? Give us the skinny, buddy. He must have got the news because it's traveling, around the globe in the direction that it hit him first,
It goes west to east, I guess.
It's Russia misinformation.
Yeah, he is pretty close to Russia, like a 9-iron, right?
Right, he can see from his front porch, right?
Oh, God, contract extension? I thought you were going to say he got cut or traded for my Kendry Miller shares.
That would have been epic, though. Like, say he got traded to a team that's like running back needy right now, making a run. Like, that would be epic, dude.
So it looks like Kamara signed a 2-year, $24.5 million deal to stay in New Orleans. Wow. Okay, I guess I can throw it.
That's not huge news, Zoobs. Come on. You got us excited. Huge news. Come on.
Hey. I mean, at least it's not the type of huge news that we've been used to lately, which usually is followed up with out for the season.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. We're going to segue right into some huge news, and I don't know if this is really. I mean, I think a lot of people are probably we're not always. We're not going to say we're happy. We're happy for injuries because you're never happy for a guy getting injured. But I mean, Deshaun Watson. I mean, everybody saw it on TV. Saw the Achilles get shot up into his calf when he dropped back, and he is officially out for the year. And my prediction is he's probably put that Browns uniform on for the last time. I think they're probably just going to eat the money and move on from here.
I agree.
Jaden Daniels obviously killed us all in DFS this weekend and season long. If you had him in, he was ready for a mega throbber this weekend against Carolina, and it was
started out so great too, man. Jeez, those first 3 plays, you're like, oh, this is exactly what I expected, and then, oh man.
Yeah, I mean, if Carcass Mariota can get out there and do that, you knew Jaden Daniels was going to go off. So he's week to week. I think from what I heard, if it would have been a competitive game, that he would have came back in. but it wasn't worth risking him with the blowout. And then Aiden O'Connell broke his thumb. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. I think they signed
Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter.
Was it Desmond? Yeah, Desmond Ritter. So, so going forward, I'll go over to Sean. So I'm not going to talk about Daniels because he's probably going to be back. But as far as like Deshaun Watson, I mean, looks like it's going to be Winston. That should be like an uptick for the offense, correct?
I mean, can it get worse? Right? I mean, the guy's been playing worse than most college quarterbacks at this point. So it's just been, it can't go anywhere but up at this point in Cleveland. So hopefully he brings a little bit more stability to the position at least. You know, he's not going to be so bad with his like just basic throws like Deshaun has been. So that if he can at least move that offense in that way, I think it'll be good for them. I feel like Njoku is going to get a boost from this, and I do think Judy will because Winston is also known to be a guy who's not scared to chuck it. So if it comes down to it, I don't think he'll have any problem throwing the ball Judy's direction, even if he's not 100% open. So, that's going to be something I think that could benefit him if he can start actually catching some contested passes. So, I don't think the offense is going to be great. I don't think they're going to lean probably on Chubb if he's healthy enough to lean on. And, if not, then they're probably just going to be one of those muddling offenses that kind of, patchworks their way through the rest of the season. Got you.
Now, before I get into O'Connell with Connor, welcome in Jimbo Bimbo. He's in. He's sniping the pod.
Snap.
Jimbo Bimbo is a big gamer for our community, and like I said, unfortunately, he was probably affected out of most out of everybody for the Hurricanes. So I'm glad you had time to pop in. So give a hello to Jimbo. Give him some love out there.
Yeah, hopefully you can make it on Sunday if you're free at all, man, because that event is gonna be 100% geared towards raising money for you, bro.
Yep, for sure. So, all right, we are going to go to Connor, talk about a little bit. So Ritter is basically in just for backup purposes. It's going to be Minshew, correct?
Yeah, I believe so, and I really hope Ritter doesn't get much play. I mean, we saw what he did to that Atlanta offense last year, or even 2 years ago too. So, not real happy about Ritter's not much fantasy wise that you should be picking up anywhere anyway. Not real like if you have Brock Bowers, I think you're a little worried if Minshew goes down or plays worse than he was, but I would much prefer if you're holding Bowers, if you're holding Jacoby Myers, that Minshew is playing.
Got you.
You think that the drop from O'Connell to Minshew is going to affect him at all, or do you think that he's just going to float right through the season? I mean, O'Connell only played like 2 games with him, so it seems like they're moving in the same direction either way.
Yeah, I think Bowers is still a great player to have. They're about, I don't know what the actual percentage is of fantasy points compared one to the other, but I don't think it was much different from what I saw. But I mean, he's still going to get the target share in that offense. Jacoby Myers is still going to get the target share. They don't have many other options with Adams out, DJ Turner.
And if Max Crosby gets his way, their defense is not going to be nearly as good as the season progresses either, because he's doing everything he can to get out of town.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the best team in the league anyway, so they're going to be fighting people the whole time, throwing the ball probably anyway.
Yeah, please, free Max Crosby. The Detroit would love to have him right now.
Oh, dude, I knew you were going to say that. I was talking to a Detroit buddy the other day, and he was just like giving me the full skinny on Crosby and how much he wants him to come to Detroit.
He went to Eastern Michigan, man. He went to Eastern Michigan.
He ditched out on the game on Sunday to go to an Eastern Michigan Saturday football game in Michigan instead of playing for the Raiders on Sunday and all. And he got kicked out of practice and walked back on the field with a Lions hat on and all this crazy stuff, man.
Come on, Brad Holmes. Please do it, Brad Holmes. Please. I mean, it's sitting right there for you. I mean, we don't need – I mean, would you give – I mean, I'd give up a first-rounder for him.
Oh, yeah. Give up 2. Give up 2. Give up next year's in like a 2027, right? Like that's – you get yourself your 2026 in the middle. You get Max Crosby. Aiden's out. That basically fills the hole that you just ended up getting for your playoff run, right? And then next season, you've got Crosby and Hutch on the same fucking squad, man.
Yeah, book in defensive ends, man. That looked really good. All right, we'll move on to running backs. We don't have a lot. I'm just going to breeze through them. So CMC looks like he'll be back week 10. And JT should be back week 8 coming up this weekend. So not too much in the running back, but where we got hammered this week was the receivers. So I'll run through them and then we'll get some analysis on that. So basically JMO being JMO, suspended 2 games for drugs. Metcalf is week to week with a knee. Looked a little bad when he went off on the cart, but it's looking like it's just a small tweak.
They said the cart was just because it was too far of a walk.
Yeah, probably. Juju pretty much destroyed a lot of my lineups with the big fat 0. I just wish they would have held him out. Ayuk with the knee, we'll talk about that. Godwin with the ankle, we'll talk about that. And then Evans with the hammy. He's probably, depending what the MRI looks like today or tomorrow, whenever he gets it done, it's looking like hopefully he doesn't go on the IR and it's just a couple weeks. But
dude, I'm telling you, it looks season ending to me, bro. His reaction to that looked horrible.
Yeah,
they said he's out until at least after their bye, week 10 or 11 or something. So they already said that. So.
Yeah, I just think it was a huge. And we'll go right into that game. And I'll go to Connor on this one. So I just think next week they're playing Atlanta. Why risk putting Evans in? He was hurt. They should have just left him out. Where do we go from here? No Evans, no Godwin. Where are we going?
Well, it's an uptick for McMillan and all the running backs. Any running back in that offense, you saw what Baker. He had 2 passing touchdowns to Rashad White in like the final 2 drives of the game. So
got to eat a little crow on that one too. Rashad White still playing strong in that offense, man.
Yeah, I don't even know. They're substituting all 3 of them, so you never can actually rely on White. I don't think moving forward.
Bucky and White both looked good.
Yeah, I don't know if you can play them comfortably. Like both of them, like they might be a flex play at most. But especially moving forward, I think they're going to get a little bit uptick. McMillan, Otten, that's about it. I can think of.
Otten looked studly last night.
What about Sterling Shepard?
Yeah, he's going to get some touchdowns. I don't think that offense is going to be as high powered as it was. They lost probably two of the best receivers in football. Mike Evans for a long time has been probably the most consistent player we've seen in a long time at the wide receiver position. And then Godwin and that slot role looked great. So
they both fed off each other so well. Yeah. Evans was so great at taking the top off of the defense and forcing people to respect his depth. And then Godwin was the perfect guy to come underneath and just tear you apart. So
is this
it's definitely a staple of their offense.
Is this the end of Mike Evans' 1,000-yard seasons?
I think so, man. Because to me, like the way he reacted to that, he hit the ground on the first hit, and then the momentum took him for like a 360 kind of roll. And the moment he hit the ground on that first hit, he just basically looked like he planked. Mm-hmm. He just went straight, like as straight as he could, and went with the momentum for the roll until he stopped moving and instantly just grabbed his hammy and started screaming. So to me, that looks like, hammies, man. Hammies are no joke, dude. They kept Christian Watson out almost all season at one point. So I could see this being potentially like season ending if he tries to come back too soon, like he's known to do at this point, or like just doesn't have, the ability because it's just that bad of a handful.
They said the earliest he'd come back is after the bye, week 11. So he comes back against the Giants. If he comes back week 12, he would have to basically have 7 games left and average 100 yards a game to get 1,000. So.
Yeah. And I don't think he's going to be able to come back and be the same player right out the gate.
He hasn't even cracked 100 this year anyway. So
yeah, it's unfortunate too because it's not his fault. It's just this situation. He would have been fine if this situation didn't happen the way it happened. If he got to play the season out like normal, even his average right now, I think he still gets there.
Yeah, that would be close.
Well, receivers are on the move, and I got a name out. I got a name that the Bucs should go after, and because they are still in the playoff, race is. Let's free DeAndre Hopkins. Let's get DeAndre over there.
I swear I felt like he got traded mid-fucking game in the middle of that game because they sat his ass at halftime for no reason. And everybody, even the announcers, were like, what is happening here? Did something go down that we don't know about? I wouldn't surprise me if they're still trying to hammer out the details, but maybe they just said, hey, look, dude, we're going to sit you down because we don't want to worry about, any issues happening so we can get this deal done.
Because the 2 receivers they had, McMillan, Shepard, they're just complimentary. You bring in DeAndre Hopkins, and and Baker knows how to pepper his receivers. So I think it'd be a great ad. Like I said,
So what is this, bro? Here's a good scenario for you guys that's fun to think about. What if they had a deal set in place on Sunday, and that's why they kind of like backed off of him for the rest of that game, and then Monday happened, and Godwin goes down, and Evans goes down, and then the Bucs are on the phone, and they're like, "Well, hold on a second, guys. I know we had a deal in place, but some new things have changed in the last 24 hours now. So now they're back and forth between whoever they had to deal with and the Bucs to try to get the best option available for Hopkins."
Are we sure that anybody's going after Hopkins like that, though? Like, he
I
hasn't
mean, if
really played that well.
It makes total sense. Scott's 100% right in that aspect.
Yeah, I'm not saying, but what are you actually going to give up as an NFL team to get a 32-year-old receiver who hasn't performed in 2 to 3 years?
Which could be another point as to why Tennessee's holding out for as much as they possibly can get, because it's not going to be a lot either way. But get an extra apple here or there is better than not.
Yeah. They, I mean, like I said, a third will probably get it done.
They're not giving a third.
Third definitely would get it done. I think they wouldn't get a third though.
You don't think
because
so?
that's what just happened for Cooper and Adams, right? A third conditional second for Adams, and then a third for Cooper. Yeah, with like a fifth, sixth swap, I think, or something like that.
It's seventh, yeah, seventh swap for Cooper and the conditional third, or it might have been, was it conditional third? Yeah, I think it was originally announced as a conditional fourth, but then I think they switched it and it's just conditional third to.
Yeah, if it was a conditional fourth, it would have been like up to a third, but they might have just said screw it, to make the deal happen. They just did the third because our third is basically a late third, so almost a fourth anyway.
Okay, all right. Well, then we're gonna move up. We'll move on to Sean. We'll go with the other big news, and it was the Ayuk on ACL.
That made me want to puke.
Just been an awful year, and that's for the 49ers. Ayuk with the contract, and then not performing on the field, and then now he gets hurt on the field, and he's guaranteed that money. So are we looking at JJ, Juwan Jennings right back in that role? Pearsall, a little bit of Pearsall, a little more Kittle.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, I saw Kittle's questionable. I don't know if that's just the consistent questionable that we deal with a 30-something-year-old guy, but
some with his foot, I believe.
Is that what it was? I didn't look into the details, but yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on with him. But if he plays, he'll be gold. I think he's going to be the number one target, especially if Debo's still dealing with this issue. Which, by the way, I do need to apologize because I said yesterday that I felt like he should be okay in like a 5-6 day period. And then I read this morning that he is in the hospital and has fluid on his lungs. And if I remember from the show, doesn't he have an asthma issue from being a kid? He had asthma or something as a child. Is he the receiver that had asthma when he was young?
Probably. Knowing you.
I think so. So it made me feel really, really bad about saying that yesterday. So Debo, anybody that knows Debo, you apologize for me because I didn't mean it to be bad. I thought it was just because he's a strong guy. He's going to be back from it in a few days. Didn't realize it was at that level.
I'll one up you on that. I said on last week's pod that if there was a guy I was okay with getting hurt, it was Deshaun Watson, and then he goes out there and gets hurt. But I didn't really mean that, Deshaun. I'm sorry.
Right.
It sucks.
We should have an apology episode where we just go and apologize to all the players that we were talking shit about, that we felt bad.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, I just wanted just to he tweaked his finger or something. He broke his thumb like Aiden O'Connell. I'll be okay with. But Achilles, man, that's rough, man.
I know, right? Like I was teasing the other day about because I needed Kamini Vidal to have a good game, so I was like, just give me like a 1-game injury out of Dobbins, just something minor. It doesn't take
injured Dobbins. He'll be out for the season. Stop.
That's for just the 1 game. I just needed the 1 game,
All right. Well, okay. So we'll move on. There's only really one player for the tight end I want to talk about, and it's T.J. Hawkinson. So he was limited in practice. They play Thursday this week. So if he's not active for Thursday, he has to be activated by Friday, or he's going to be forced to go back on IR again. So that means he won't be eligible to come back for another 4 weeks. So this is going to be really tricky, not only for the Vikings, but for the little bet I have for a pub sub with Ken. If he goes back on IR, it is over. The bet is over.
He won't go
So-
back on IR.
Yeah, I
He's
don't
not
think-
going back on IR.
So
Like they're gonna bring him off IR, and even if he doesn't play, they're gonna bring him off IR, and he'll sit on the roster at the tail end of the roster, maybe 1 week until he's 100% okay. But I think he's fine. I think he's playing this week.
okay,
Yeah,
we will see. We will see what's going
I
on.
think he probably is limited this week, though. I think he probably is on snap count. He
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
plays about
10 to 15
50%.
snaps. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know Ken probably continuously updating his phone every hour, waiting for the news to come in so he can text me and say he's
Well,
back.
that and he's tracking the horns with the nice golden locks that he bought for you to wear during your pub sub eating.
Yeah, we will see. If that... So, all right. Okay, before we get, let's see. Yeah, let's get into the players of the week. We're gonna go to the quarterbacks, and at the top of the list with his 5 touchdowns, Lamar. So he sits at number 1. We got Baker. Baker still came in at number 2. A lot of that production was GTP.
Hey Scott, before we go too far, I wanted to bring up a comment that Jimbo's Bimbos threw in the comment section. He says that his fantasy brothers have really stepped up and helped out, and some have even been up there hands-on helping him with everything he's going through in the rebuild of their home. And it's been a really emotional time, but football is a great release, he says. So I'm glad to hear that we can help you out, man, and give you at least some sort of a release to give you a few minutes to kind of try not to worry about it and, just a break. Because we all know that when you're going through stuff like that, every little break that you can get from time to time helps out a ton. So I'm glad we can help you in that aspect, and I hope that we help you a ton on Sunday, man, because we're really looking forward to doing this for you.
Yeah, pretty pumped to do that this weekend. So, all right, thank you, Jimbo. Coming in number 3, Russell Wilson, he 264-2. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Drake May. Drake May is slow. He's putting together a pretty good start to his career. 276-2. Kyler comes in at 7. Marcus Mariota comes in at 8. Jared Goff comes in at 9. Gino at 10. Brock Purdy at 11, and Jordan Love at 12. And I think Jordan Love is, I think he's like the rank with the injury, the couple week injury he had. I think he's creeped up in the top 10 as quarterbacks. Can you confirm that, Connor, at all?
I don't know.
Connor is our statistical genius over here. He's our Rain Man of fantasy football.
I was on a 4-point per passing touchdown. Let me look.
Yeah, we don't do 4 points in Ballsville.
Hell no. It's a 6-point touchdown. Who came up with the 4-point passing touchdown rule? Deserves to be hard.
He's number 9, but he also, there's 3-4 people behind him that have already had their bye. So
got you. Okay. All right.
And he still has a week 10 bye.
Just checking. So
I got a question before we move on from quarterbacks, because I'm curious your guys' opinion. With the start that Drake May's had in his first 2 games and JJ being out and Darnold looking good, all these things that are happening right now, are you still JJ over Drake, dynasty-wise, or say next season, right? Let's say next season redraft.
Next season, I would still take JJ just because of how good Sam Darnold has looked in that offense. And if you throw in JJ and he's, a top 5 pick and he's supposed to be, or not top 5, but was he top 5? He was
top 10, right?
Top 10, right? Yeah, something like that. But same thing, basically. But you throw him into that offense with JJ, Jettas, and then you throw him in there with Hawkinson and Addison. I think he can still perform with a higher ceiling than Drake May can with those weapons around him.
What do you think, Scott?
You know what? I mean, I had Drake May as my even after the where we knew where they were going after the the NFL draft. I still had Drake May as my number 3 quarterback. So I mean, I'm going to stick with that. I think the Patriots will be bad enough where they're going to be a high draft pick. There's some good receivers coming out next year.
But yeah, the Patriots draft receivers in the first round all the time. We've seen that.
Well,
Hey, it's
I
a
mean,
new era, though. It's a new era. This isn't Belichick anymore.
But he didn't do it this year either. They had
mean,
some receivers they could have taken there, and
He
they did
took
not.
2 in the top 4 rounds. He took 2 in the top 4 rounds. He took Drake
Yeah, but
May in the first round. He had to take Drake May.
They had way more talented. No, they had a second pick in later round of the first round. So they could have took like Coleman. They could have took Worthy. There's a couple other ones they could have took.
They could have, but they weren't surefire like stud receivers at that point in that draft either, right? Like I don't know who they ended up taking. I don't remember the exact guy that they ended up taking, but my guess is the way the defensive players fell in the draft. I mean, I don't think that first one was taken to 15 or something. That there was probably like a player that they really liked that was there that they had no idea would be there.
I mean, JJ's gonna. I mean, I agree. JJ's probably got a little higher of a ceiling, but he's gonna come in next year as a rookie. I mean, even though he's a rookie this year, he's not playing. So next year is going to be a rookie year, and that's even if they even give that job to him. I mean, Sam Darnold's if the Vikings make the playoffs, which they probably will, how can you take that job away from Sam Darnold next year? I mean, you can't.
I'm not saying they would, right out the gate, especially because he's coming off the injury, right? Like, so who's to say he's going to be fully healthy start the season? And do you want to trust the guy coming off of that injury to be your only guy if you let Darnold walk? Because Darnold's only on a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. So he has all the freedom in the world to go to a different team if he has a better offer on the table, right?
Yeah, or I mean, the Vikings could just say, we're just going to go with Darnold from here on out. I mean,
I guess they could franchise him. Can they franchise tag a player after a 1-year deal like that?
I don't know. I don't know those rules, but I mean, like I said, Drake May looks good. I mean, he doesn't have the type of weaponry that Minnesota has, and he's doing very, very well. So I mean, I just think long term May will be the better quarterback. And I agree with Connor. Short term, I think if JJ gets in there, he'll have a higher ceiling because of the weapons. But I mean, it's not a guarantee he's even going to get that job next year. So I would rather just take the guy that's playing right now.
Yeah. I was going off of his question about next year. I think May is the better dynasty asset to have because he's playing this year, and 2, he's going to have that job next year. But if you were asking me, who am I drafting and redraft next year, both healthy, I would say JJ because of the higher ceiling right now and the weapons.
Yeah, and I agree with that. If JJ gets that job, then I agree with Connor. I take the ceiling play. And
to go back to they traded Ladd McConkey for Jalen Polk later in the round.
He traded a pick later, like dropped back in the round, and then took Ladd instead of took.
Well, they took Polk because they traded the pick that became Ladd, and then they traded the pick they got in return for basically Polk. So
right. Wow. So okay, well, and then we got Russell Wilson that came in at number 3. Obviously, he unlocked Pickens. He's not going to get the rushing upside that you're going to get from Fields, but they
Do you think he looked that good? Like a lot of those passes were underthrown passes that were, his moon ball is not good like it used to be, and you can't just be throwing the ball right up in the air like that. I mean, a lot of those, like you said, catches Pickens had to adjust, and if it wasn't for George Pickens, who's one of the best contested catch receivers in the league, if it would have been somebody else who's not as good as he is, those would be incomplete passes or intercepted. So I don't think Russell Wilson did like wowed us in that game. No. They just played good.
The Jets defense was also very injured that game. I mean, not just that game, but in general. I mean, they had Sauce Gardner, Sauce Gardner, and then like DB 5, 6, 7, and then no safeties.
That's exactly what I was going to say too. There's a lot of injuries on that Jets defense. They were not playing the way that they normally play, so it was definitely not like a game that I would say like I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to chase Russell Wilson on the waiver wire and go nuts to pick him up because I don't think that this game is going to give you a good gauge on what to expect from him throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean they were playing a lot of zone too because they didn't want to go man with their 5, 6, 7 string at cornerback, and then their safeties really didn't know the coverages that well, so they're playing a lot of zones. And you saw Sauce Gardner get lost a couple of times on Pickens and stuff like that. You don't really see out of Sauce that much, but it is because he was trying to cover 90% of the field for one
Yeah.
player.
He was trying to play the entire game like as the only D-back, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't do that in the NFL, man. These guys are too good.
Yep.
All right, and we'll talk about a couple quarterbacks that are just, I don't know, we're just shaking our heads. I'll go to Sean on this one. I mean,
You make me talk about AR.
I mean, Pat. Well, I'm gonna save AR for Connor. I'm gonna give you Pat Mahomes. I mean, 154 yards and 2 interceptions. I mean, don't tell me, oh, he played the Niners defense. He's been doing this all year. I mean, and don't tell me, oh, he lost his number 1 receiver because he's not throwing to Kelsey. So, I mean, this is just disgusting. I mean, obviously in Dynasty you're keeping him, but I said this a couple weeks ago. If I have Pat Mahomes in a redraft, I mean, I dumped him a couple weeks ago, and if you still have shares of him, I mean, go find that Chiefs lover and try to dump him off, because I don't know if this is going to get any better. We're halfway through the season now in redraft. Playoffs are coming up, and this guy's not helping you. So,
who did you dump him for again?
I traded him for Geno and Devontae Smith.
And that's exactly the trade that I think you can look for in a redraft right now, because he has the name value to get you a Geno and a Devontae Smith. So I don't think I think it's a perfect move in a redraft right now.
I also don't think you're holding them in Dynasty. If you're in Dynasty and you're holding them, I think that's probably a bad news. I think you're selling him because of his name value right now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree. You're selling him. I think if you want to hang on to him maybe a week or two and see if he has like one of those Patty type games all of a sudden for 1 week, and then, use that momentum to try to get the best deal possible if you're hesitant to trade him away. But otherwise, I'm with you on that one. I think his values dropped dramatically. I don't see any way that they can flip this to the point to where he's back to being in that top tier in one season. And then if you're looking at 2 more seasons deep, you're talking Patrick at almost 30.
Okay, so I want to push back a little on that in Dynasty. So, okay, Pat's 29 years.
See, that's what happens when you push back on Sean. You get cut off by the good Lord. So you guys know who was right in this talk, obviously.
Sorry, guys. All right, anyway. So the pushback I have is he's 29 years old, but if you're looking to move him, okay, you obviously want to get a quarterback in return. No one's trading you a young quarterback. You're not getting Daniels, you're not getting Caleb, you're not getting you got to get a quarterback
up extra assets,
and you're not going to trade him for a Goff in pieces, right?
I mean, so right now I just want the market is keep trade cut, like that's just what you go off of to see where they're at, like in fantasy world or in dynasty world. He's still player 15 total overall in dynasty on keep trade cut. So if you're selling him at player 15 value, but you don't expect to get that, that's why you're selling him, because of how high he's worth to a lot of other people still.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. If you can find the guy that still loves him, I own him in Dynasty, and I'm not moving him. I mean, he's 29 years old. It's hard to get quarterbacks in Superflex Dynasty. Especially,
so let's talk a little bit. Superflex Dynasty, your normal stud quarterback around 3 first-round picks value, right? Kind of ballpark. So where is he at now? 2 first-rounders and a tier 2 wide receiver, maybe.
I mean, I think he probably goes in the second round in the startups, right? I mean, he probably goes right now, probably the mid-second round in startups, like 16th, 18th pick or something like that.
Yeah, I want a quarterback in return. I want a young quarterback in return, and no one's going to give me one. So,
well, hold on. Well, so would you rather have Mahomes or Joe Burrow in Dynasty?
I don't think anyone's going to trade you Burrow.
Well, I think I'm just looking at
2 first-rounders and Trevor Lawrence for Patrick Mahomes.
2 first-rounders and Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I think you could almost argue Trevor Lawrence over Patrick Mahomes straight up.
But I mean, you're trying to get the best deal for Patty, right? You're trying to find that Patty lover. Do you feel like that's like overreaching, or do you feel like that you could snag that from somebody still? Because there was a time that wasn't even. That was like you're getting a great deal if you're getting
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes for that.
I think that's overreaching, in my opinion. I think if you can get that, that's great. But I mean, I don't think Trevor Lawrence and 2 first-round picks. I think if you're trying to get that, I mean, if they're offering that, they're going to try to get Jaden Daniels, or they're going to try to get Caleb Williams, or somebody that's young and performing already, not somebody that's not performing and old. So,
I mean, but you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, man. You're talking
Yeah,
about
that's
quarterback.
great. You can get that. That's great. But I don't think you should be, holding hope that you're going to get that with him.
I mean, I would trade him for Jordan Love. I would try to get Jordan Love.
Yeah, Jordan Love is and keep that trade above him. Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Brock Purdy are the ones right behind him. And keep trade that people put their rankings in. So
What a drop on Jalen Hurts too, huh?
Oh yeah.
And I might even consider taking I mean, it'd probably be a stretch, but I would even consider possibly like a Brock Purdy and like like an early first rounder, for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the same. I think if you can get, a younger guy that's performing, like I said, Brock Purdy, even Drake May in a first or something like that.
Yeah.
Try to get that, or I think you should be selling him for as much as you can get right now. If he's, he's not player 15 in my rankings, he's player 15, in the overall market. So if you can sell him at player 15 value, I definitely think you should do that.
Okay, and real quick before we move on, because we got to move on. I think when we already kind of talked about this guy even last week too is, and I'll go to Connor on this one first. Anthony Richardson. I mean, he's bottomed out basically right now, right?
I think they had some drop troubles in that offense last week, and I think he still has rushing upside. I think they didn't rush him as much. I'm sorry, I'm echoing. They didn't rush him as much because of the injury, which was smart because they did rush him right after he got injured the last time he got injured. So, but I think he still has some fantasy value. I don't think, he's living up to the hype of a top, a first-round draft choice by any means.
Gotcha.
Top 5.
Top 5? I didn't see him go top 5, but.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought real life.
Right,
yeah.
Let's move on to the running backs. This list is pretty interesting. So we got Jahmyr Gibbs at number 1, Rashid White back on the map, number 2. A lot of his damage was done through the air. He only rushed for 40 yards, but he had 6 receptions and two of them for scores. Saquon was about the easiest bet this week on DFS, on lineups, that he was just going to go in there and and give it to the Giants. I mean, that was like a no-brainer.
Somebody was fading him because of Jordan Mailata, but I don't.
I still am, by the way. I was waiting to bring that up. I still am. This is just a one-off because of the Giants, but I still am fading him if Jordan Mailata is not in the game.
Oh yeah. Joe Mixon comes in at number 4. That sucks. That's alarming. Actually, yeah, I forgot to talk about CJ and the other quarterback.
CJ not so shred.
But yeah, it's just they're just running Joe Mixon to death. So Breece Hall comes at number 5. We have Javonte Williams sighting at number 6. Career day for him. The King comes in at 7. Tank Bigsby at 8. Bijan at 9. KW3 at 10. And Kareem Hunt at 11. And Aaron Jones with a nice game comes in at number 12.
The King could have been number 1 if he finished off those touchdowns.
Yeah.
Hey, him not finishing those touchdowns saved me drastically in my high dollar league.
And it killed me in 2 leagues. Killed me in 2 leagues. If he finishes that, I win in 2 leagues. And if he doesn't, I lose.
The cool thing I like watching about the King is it was kind of the same thing like when I used to watch Barry Sanders. He'd get bottled up, and then all of a sudden, bam, he just hits like a 70 or 80 yarder. And for a guy that's 30 years old that weighs 250 pounds, I mean, you can't really expect him to run the defense, run through the whole defense and not get caught. But I mean, he's fun to watch, man, just barreling down the sidelines. And I mean, nobody wants to tackle this guy.
Except people trying to stop him from the touchdown behind him. Like, God dang, just let him score. You're down 30.
Dude,
right.
it's so much like what was his name now, guys? Help me out. He was on the Titans, Oilers. I'm sorry, the Oilers back in the day. And
Earl
he
Campbell.
just, thank you, Earl
Earl Campbell.
He like, dude, he like looks so familiar to like that, like just the way he plows through people. And it's like you said, dude, like he'll just wear them down, wear them down, wear them down, then also be like later, and just like pull away. It's like unbelievable. And it's this big ass train of a dude just like hauling ass down the field, and all these little dudes are like, how the fuck is he running away from me?
And I think one time a game, and they don't do it. They used to do it all the time with the Titans, but they would always do it. The Titans would always do it. One time a game, they would set up that little screen for him, and he would just, once he got the ball and got downhill, it was like freaking over.
Have
So
you
I
seen
think
like
the Ravens
still shots of his eyes too when he's running? Like his eyes are like wide as fuck, and he's like got this face. And it's like, dude, if I saw that face like barreling at me, like I'd be like, go ahead, man. Touchdown's yours, bro. Go for it, dude. Like,
I don't think you should be on the same field. I don't think you should be on the same field as Derrick Henry, Sean. You speak kind of highly of yourself there.
No. If I was on the same field as Derrick Henry, it's because I'm running out there to squirt a water bottle at his mouth during the timeout.
You'll be a protester like there was whatever game that was. That'll be you next time.
All right, and then it looks like Kareem Hunt coming in at 11. I mean, it looks like he's going to just be. He could possibly be a league winner if Pacheco, doesn't make it back this year. I'll also pick up.
Whoa! Don't you even put that into existence? Pacheco is coming back this year. He's coming back in like 2 weeks.
He comes back.
Don't even say that. When? Word is when.
Okay, all right, we'll see. As of right now, though, whoever's got Kareem Hunt in their lineup they're doing very, very well. Some guys that are outside, it looked like Kyron. He did score twice. Not a lot of rushing yards for him. 76, I guess, was okay. And then who else do we got here? Chuba Hubbard. He was another one. He did get in the box, but he only had 52 rushing yards. That game obviously got out of hand. And then Devin Achan, 77 yards, no touchdowns. Like I said, it's hit or miss with him.
Well, it's that whole offense right now.
Yeah, they desperately need Tua back. I mean, he should be back this week. Okay, we'll go to the receivers. Amon-Ra comes in at number 1. Rashad Bateman, man, comes in 4 for 121 a touch. He had a career day. I hit the over prop on that, 40 yards, pretty easy. George Pickens comes in at 3. Brian Thomas at 4. JJ at number 5. AJ Brown at 6. DK with the injury at 7. Drake London at 8. Teakins 9. Cedric Tillman comes in at 10. I think he had 12 targets. So he's a guy that if Winston's the quarterback, look for that. He's going to be a popular pickup this week. Cedric Wilson comes in at 11, and then Jamar Chase comes in at number 12. Looking at guys that were like just outside, Garrett Wilson comes in at number 20 now with Adams there. And I don't really nobody else really. Amari and Keon, I think they cannibalized themselves that day, so they're both outside the top 12. But going forward, should we see? I'll go to Sean. With the quarterback change in Pittsburgh, is this more of a stat line we're going to see out of George Pickens going forward?
I mean, I think it's somewhere right in the middle of what we used to see and what we saw this week. I think this week is going to be like a high point, and it'll kind of level off after this and be, he might score maybe 3 to 5 more points a week than he was scoring before.
And then Connor, is Cedric Tillman, is he the guy to pick up, or if people that have Jerry Jeudy, is it comfortable to put Jerry Jeudy in your lineup now?
No, but comfortable. I mean, you might have to, but I don't think.
I mean, we do have a lot of wide receiver injuries, so I mean, you're gonna have to start playing some
and a lot of wide receiver underperformers. Diggs, Dell.
Yeah, I mean, I still think you're playing all those. I mean, not J-Mo, you're not playing him over Jerry Jeudy, but I think you're still playing all those guys over Jerry Jeudy, and I still think there's some running backs. Because Jeudy at best is a flex play. I still think you're playing like a Chase Brown or somebody like that over a
Would you play Dell over him still?
Yes. I mean, Dell's still the number 2 target in that offense. I mean, that whole passing offense had a bad week this week. So, I mean, swallow it 1 week ago that, Dell's going to put up some numbers. It was just a whole I mean, what? CJ Stroud had 5 fantasy points. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to
Their
continue.
game plan was built to try to run the ball and keep it away from the Packers, I think, was kind of what they were trying to do. But
I mean, they looked really good drive 1. Their whole offense did, and then it really tailed off after that.
Right. Okay, we'll move on to the tight ends. Tight ends are getting a little bit better. Coming in at number 1's Njoku, monster game. I think he's just going to keep going with Winston in there. Jonnu Smith comes in at 2. We have a Mark Andrews sighting, 2 touchdowns. Mark Andrews is back, number 3. Brock Bowers comes in at 4. Kate Otten, he should get an uptick in targets, comes in at 5. Hunter Henry's been doing very well with the quarterback change. He comes in at 6. Will Dissly comes in at 7. Kittle at 8. Zach Ertz comes in at number 9. Should have had 2 touchdowns, but they gave the one to Sinnett. Sinnett. We lost Sean. Coming at 10, Kyle Pitts, Tucker Kraft at 11, and then Jatavion Sanders at number 12. So are we back? Should everybody be comfortable now putting Mark Andrews back in their lineup as a TD1? Tight end 1.
You keep asking me these gross questions. Like, I mean, if you had him and I don't know. Are you playing him over Tucker Kraft? I don't think so right now. I still think you're playing Kraft. Mark Andrews still hasn't seen a majority of target share that he should be. I think he's a little bit healthier than he was, and I think you can start playing him now. I just don't think he's going to be, a tight end 1 moving forward. I don't think he's going to put up tight end 3 weeks like we saw. I don't think he's going to put up weeks like we drafted him to put up. But if you picked him up because you're a tight end needy, because a lot of people dropped him, guillotine leads, I think you're still putting him on the bench for a little bit until you're more comfortable. But I think you're playing him with a little bit more confidence, especially because he's caught 3 touchdowns the past 2 weeks or something like that. But he's only saw 5 targets or something last week or this week. And so it's like the first 2 catches he had this week or targets he had this week were touchdowns. And I think the one target he had last week was a touchdown. So, I mean, if he does that, you can play him.
Okay. Connor, I know you're like in depth with, players and this and that, like we all are. But I mean, what are the Chiefs? I mean, when are the Chiefs going to get Travis Kelce involved? If they are going to, I mean, he didn't even make the top 25 this week. Yeah. Actually, Noah Gray had 4 for 66.
Yeah, I'm glad. I have very little of Kittle because of his price point and redraft. Even though I had him as
Kelce,
that's what I mean. Even though I had him as my tight end 1 coming into the year, I thought he was going to perform because of that offense, but he's done the complete opposite. I thought this was the week. I mean, last week he had a decent week. He had a top 10.
He had a decent week last week. I think it was.
And so I thought that would be, what it was going to be moving forward. But I hope they get him more involved. That offense does not look good. I mean, their defense is saving them, but they're 7-0 now. So
yeah, I mean they're winning.
But I mean, they're probably going to lean on the run. They're leaning on Hunt. I mean, Patrick's throwing an interception in a game, and their defense is beyond to stop.
They haven't played the Bills yet. That's why they haven't lost.
So my question is, we talked about Mahomes and Dynasty. I mean, is this the beginning of the end of Travis Kelce as far as like Dynasty?
Are you talking to me,
Sean?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I think this is the beginning of his transition from football to movies.
Just cereal boxes, I think.
You mean commercials? He ain't gonna be in a movie. It's commercials.
No, isn't he already in some sort of a movie? He's in a movie already.
Was it a triple budgeter? Like one of them triple?
No,
budget?
he's got some sort of like part in something. I think I'm pretty sure. Anyways, one of you listeners out there chime in if you know what I'm talking about. But
it's probably a movie. It's probably a movie with Conor McGregor or something. It's like
maybe you should transition. Maybe you should transition to like wrestling or something.
Right. Watch, he's gonna be Taylor's opening act moving forward.
God, it's so gross.
He's gonna be a rapper.
How Travis Swift has fallen. He's fallen off the fantasy radar. Incredible. All right. Okay. Well, that wraps up our player performances for the weekend. We are now going to get into the Ballsville part of the podcast. And before we get into the high stakes that we go over every week, we're going to go over a trade that happened in one of my my high stakes leagues. Kind of, there was kind of an uproar saying that there was it was lopsided. At first glance, it kind of looked lopsided, but when you as far as I'm concerned, when you break down the trade and the ramifications of what happened after the weekend, it looks a little bit, even or almost, the lopsided the other way. So this was between two owners. One was in the top half of the standings. The other one is in the bottom half of the standings. These two owners, they've had one trade between the two of them before. One's in only a couple leagues. The other one's in a lot of leagues. So it was called collusion. We don't want to try to, as far as game managers, we don't want to really interact. We want you guys to play out the league, and we want to be as less hands-on as possible. We just want to make sure that we check lineups, make sure you guys are, putting them in and kind of look for collusion, but we don't want to get, involved in any of that stuff. So there was kind of an uproar with everyone going back and forth with the deal. So, me as a manager, when I look at a deal, from looking at it, it looks like, oh my God, this is pretty lopsided, but you have to break down the trade. So, the player that was getting Aaron Rodgers, he was basically playing a position player in the flex spot, in his super flex spot. So he really needed a quarterback really bad. The player who ended up getting Mike Evans and Puka and Tank Dell, he took a shot on trading for an injured player. There's a good chance Puka, if he does come back, will he be the same player? Will it be something like that happened last year with Cooper Kupp, where he comes back, plays a little bit, re-aggravates the knee or whatever, and then he's out again? That could happen. It could not. Now what happened was, obviously, the Mike Evans owner, if you look at his roster, he had Deshaun Watson as a third quarterback. He obviously got hurt, so now he's down to two quarterbacks. So he just traded Rodgers away, didn't get a quarterback in return, so that hurts him. Tank Dell got him a big fat 0 in an offense where he should have been the number 2 with Nico out. Obviously that wasn't good. He's still waiting on Puka, and now he's got Mike Evans potentially done for at least an IR stint or possibly the whole year. Now, as far as the other player goes with the multiple players, he was able to put Rodgers in his lineup. He was able to put Najee Harris in his lineup. He was able to put Tolbert in his lineup when he comes back off the bye, and Michael Wilson with Harrison just coming back from the concussion could put Michael Wilson in the lineup. So he was able to use all those players. The other team was buying a few guys on the dip, as far as like Puka. So, the NFL stands for the National Fake You Out League. Every week something different happens. And, now that you break this trade down today, on Tuesday, it looks a little bit different now. It's not looks all one-sided. So, that's what the way I broke down the trade. When you look at trades, it's easy to say collusion and say it's not fair, but you really have to break down the trade. You really have to look at the rosters, and you really have to look at it as what are these two teams trying to accomplish by making this trade. So I think there is a need for both teams in this situation. Now I'm going to go to Sean, because Sean is in first place in this league. So,
was in first place until this week.
So Sean, give me your first reaction about this trade, and then how you broke down this trade.
Yeah, absolutely. So my initial reaction, yes, I did definitely have kind of that shell shock from name value kind of aspect hits you when you first read, Evans, Puka, Tank, and then you go through the rest and you're like, there's not really like a major stud that he's getting back in return. So it feels like first glance, it's that classic scenario of here's a bunch of crap for a little bit of gold, but it's not it's not really that case when you kind of break down the actual scenario and look a little more in depth to it throughout the league. And, like you mentioned with the injury aspects of the players involved and where the guy was at that was making the trade that, perceived the loss of the trade, right? So like you mentioned, you talk about it. He got to use those players. Najee is not like a terrible piece for a team that's in need, and Aaron Rodgers is not a terrible piece for a team that's in need. This is redraft, so it's not like they're looking at long-term value for these guys. Jalen Tolbert's stepping up into wide receiver 2 role. Michael Wilson has been wide receiver 2 there. So they're definitely there's definitely value in the players that he got in return, right? So when I kind of went back at it, I went through it, I reevaluated everything, and I looked at it. I really didn't see it as that far off. And when I think of collusion, I think of like I'm looking for a scenario where it's plainly obvious that one team only made this trade to help the other team. And I don't see that in this situation. If that was the case, he wouldn't have taken a guy like Puka. He would have went for another guy on his roster that would have been more productive right now. Like those are the kinds of situations that I think would have happened. And he wouldn't have given up a guy like Najee, who is definitely a flexible play at minimum and a good depth piece. So, things like that, when you look at the trade, I don't see a collusion. Maybe you could argue it was a bad trade and he could have maybe got better value. You can argue that, but collusion, I don't see as an option.
And before I get to Connor on this, I got a couple things to say. So, D. Cardi did he did reach out to a lot of owners. He did say he needed a quarterback, and obviously he didn't find a trade that he liked or thought maybe this was the best trade available for him. So he did reach out to people, and nobody was willing to make a deal with him. And they don't have
quarterback depth. I would have made a deal with him. I just didn't have the depth to do it. I looked at the roster. I tried. I just couldn't.
Right. So, and then the other point I want to make, and this happens a lot in redraft where I hate when people do this when you're making a trade and you send out and then you're in conversation with them and they're like, well, I drafted Puka or I drafted this guy in the second round and, I need to get second round value. Look, in redraft, when the point scoring season starts, you can take all that draft capital and flush it down the toilet because it means completely nothing going forward once these guys start scoring points. So anyone to tell you, oh, well, I drafted this guy number 1 overall, so I expect number 1 overall value, it's BS because
I'd go even a step further than that and say even preseason after the draft, the way the draft falls, value on different positions can change. And you could make a move for a guy that drafted after a guy that you're trading away because of the fact that you need that position now. It doesn't have to be after scoring. So to me, the moment the draft ends, it doesn't mean shit when it comes to trades. That's how I've always looked at it.
Right. Now, Connor, what do you think about? I know this might be the first time you looked at this.
No, I saw it the other day when it was posted in the chat and saw the uproar. I just think I'm not even going to talk about this trade specifically, but just in general, of collusion should be the last thing on your mind, especially in like Ballsville leagues. Like most of these guys are serious fantasy players, and not all the time are you going to be able to get value for what other people think is value. So I just don't think collusion is ever a factor unless it's obvious. And I don't think this is obvious collusion in my mind. I think, if you're sending, Josh Allen for Darius Slayton alone or something like that, I mean, that's obvious. But I just don't think collusion.
If you send no value for multiple value options, then that's different. This is not the situation.
Yeah, I just think that people just need to, just take a look, like you said, Scott, take a look at the teams, take a look at the players, and then think about it rationally. I mean, Puka's still not coming back. Mike Evans was having a good year, not a great year so far. He had a couple of down weeks, and then Tank Dell had been all over the place. And then Aaron Rodgers just got Devontae Adams. Darius Slayton looked like the wide receiver 2 in that offense with Blake Neighbors gone. Huntley was a starting quarterback for the Dolphins. Najee Harris was the clear 1 in Pittsburgh. Tolbert was the wide receiver 2 in Dallas, and Michael Wilson was out targeting Marvin Harrison in Arizona. So I mean, you could argue, that who won the deal in the beginning of this trade, in my opinion, not just that it was collusion one way or the other. I think collusion was off the table, like you said, Sean. collusion was off the table in this. And I don't think people should rush to judgment because people look at your comments as after that trade and they're like, they don't really, they take it personally because they think they made a bad deal because other people and their thing. If you have a problem with the trade, I would usually just bring it up to the manager privately, not something you lash out about in the chat. That's just my take on it.
Right. And one quick thing before, and I don't mean to spend a ton of time on this, but I think it's really important that we, get to the crux of this because it's going to come up again in the future. But, like Connor said, most Ballsville players are very serious. We've played with these players for 2-3 seasons now. And, and one last thing, instead of, and I know, cause there's a lot of people in the chat that were like degrading D Cardi, like, what are you doing? And, you're an idiot and that. And, one thing I want to say is we've all had bad teams. And the one thing I always look at is, what, every team I have, every team I own, my name's attached to it. So my reputation's attached to that team. So whether I'm in last place, I'm going to do everything I can to try to get out of the bottom, whether I got to make trades, whether I got to go to the waiver wire, whatever I'm going to do. I don't stare and look at my great teams that are 7-0 or 6-1. I go right to my bad teams and say, how am I going to make these teams better? And so I praise this guy for trying, because if he just quits, then the rest of the league basically gets a free square every week. And that's even worse for the league. As far as colluding trades is a guy just totally quitting. And then, what happens at the end of the season when there's a week before the playoffs and two guys are fighting for a playoff position. One guy's playing the team that quit. And the other guy's playing an easy team that's still trying, or a hard team. That's going to determine playoff position. So that's even going to be worse. So, you need to take everything with a grain of salt. You need to sit back and you need to look at the whole picture of the trade and not just, oh my God, that looks like such a bad trade.
I think if you want to post something bad about a trade like this that you see in a thread, I understand your initial reaction, because my initial reaction was a little shell shocked by name value and stuff too. But you do exactly what I did in this scenario and just take a step back for a minute, look through the rosters, really evaluate the full scope of the deal before you jump to conclusions and post something. Because I've done it before. I'm sure we've all done it. We posted things in threads that we're definitely, feel bad about posting later on when we go back through everything. So, try to give yourself the opportunity to think about it a little bit more before you go crazy on it. If you still feel like you have to post, then do what you got to do. But step back for a minute.
Yeah, I don't even know if you should post it. Even if you have to think about it that long, you probably shouldn't post it in the first place. But you probably should take it to a manager first and say, hey, I think this may be collusion. Do you mind asking? And then go from there. Don't just, roast them in the chat or whatever. Saying, oh my God, that's terrible. Why, stuff like that. It's pretty demeaning to the other owners, especially if they made that trade trying to get their team better because they're losing already anyway.
Yeah. I can tell you it sucks to be sitting in last place and not feel like you have anything to do to change that. So
yeah, and then you make
a problem for me.
Yeah, and then you make a trade or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, that's terrible, terrible, terrible," and then you're just like, "Well, I might as well not even do anything." And then, like Scott said, you're sitting there playing an owner who doesn't want to play.
Dude, I put this notice out weeks ago, and none of you guys offered me anything, and now you're mad about an offer that I finally took. Keep your mouth shut. I feel the same way. I get you.
So I guess the moral of the story is, if you're in last place and your name's attached to that team, you do whatever you can to get out of the basement and make it, fair to the other people in the leagues. And you should be able, you should have the attitude is, hey, if I'm playing the first place guy, I'm going to kick his ass. I'm going to knock him out of first. I'm going to do everything I can to put the best lineup I can in and get him knocked out. So, all right, we'll move on from there. We got a quick question real quick. Jimbo Bimbo says, what's up with Kroll in Denver? Jimbo, Dulcich is out, so he's been getting a lot more run. So that's why he's been popping up on the stat sheet, Lucas Kroll. So Dulcich has been out for a while now. So that's that situation in Denver. So we are going to move on.
What about Disley?
Pardon me?
What do you think of Disley? Do you think that he's a play?
I'd probably want to see like maybe I'd have to go back and look how Arizona does cover the tight end. Maybe it was just a 1 week thing where they just don't cover the tight end. I'd have to go and look and see what how that all ended out. But I think he's had a couple decent weeks. But I mean, tight end's getting a little bit better now. I mean, you could probably find Hunter Henry back on the waiver wire if somebody dropped him. You could probably.
I think he's a solid pickup the way May's playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd probably have. You could probably find Jonnu Smith, out there. I don't know. Jatavian Sanders had 6 catches for 61. He's been on, on the stat.
I'm staying away from them Panthers, though, man. Ooh.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's some other plays that you could probably play over Will Dissly, but I don't know. That's something we would have had to ask Sarah if she was on the show, since she's the Chargers expert.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, we're gonna get into. I know we're getting low on time, so we're gonna get into the the high stakes leagues like we do on Tuesdays. So, Sean, if you have the
Absolutely. Let me pop this bad boy on here so everybody knows. This is our homepage for the ballsvillegame.com. So if you guys are looking to find the information that we're going to run through with you today, if you just continue to scroll right on down through this beautiful homepage built by our main man, Alex Hernandez, we've got the scoreboards. You click right on the scoreboards and it takes you to this other beautiful page built also by Alex Hernandez. Scroll on down to the right leagues and you have your entire choice of every single league to look through that we have going on here, guys. It's amazing setup. Alex has done a great job building this up. So just like to give him some props and show you guys exactly how we get to where we are. So we're scroll our way on down through the redraft, the load stakes, the mid stakes, and on to the high stakes.
Okay, go to the
six.
Go start off at the leagues first.
Leagues first. All right.
Yeah. All right. So we do this every Tuesday, and then on Fridays we try to handle the mid and the low stakes. Getting into it now, we are going to look at Wolverine, and at the top is Mr. Been Doing This. He comes in at 11:02.54. He's got about $5 in fab left. We got Garrett Cake JoJo, our one of our game managers, and also he does all the DFS stuff on our website. He comes in at number 2 at 10:59.96. Still got $98 in fab, which is nice. We got Love John comes in at 3 at 10:23, and then Finch GDX at 10:75.76. So it looks like our El Presidente is just outside the top 4 with 972.50. So that's Wolverine.
We will go over. There we go.
We will go over to Beast, and we got the Moneymakers 1776. That's Colin Black. Pretty low score for first place, 984. You'll see that most guys in first are at over 1,000 points. We have Zay 2403. His name will be pretty familiar to you guys going forward. He's a very good owner in these high stakes leagues. 1055.56. Hawk Tua 28 Wizard King comes in at 939.40. He's still got all his money, all his fab money. That's pretty good. And then Stoney comes in at 4 at 953.36. So that's Beast. We'll come in at high number 3 Gambit. We got Keith Richards 72 coming in at 1, 5 and 2 at 1126.50. There's Zay again. Zay 2403 at 1030.46. Chiefs
Always
Life.
a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Yep. Chiefs Life.
Just kidding, Zay.
He comes in at 994. He's in a lot of our leagues. Very good, very popular gamer in our community. We have Thrillco coming in at 4 at 979.80. And if you've noticed, all 4 teams are 5 and 2 in this league. So that is Gambit. We come in at number 5 Nightcrawler. We have Jesse.
Number 4, right? Don't we have Colossus?
Oh, did I miss Colossus? Sorry, I missed Colossus. Colossus. All right, there we go. Sorry about that.
Poor Zay. This is the first one in the first place here after the first 2 seconds, and you got to skip it.
Yeah. So we got Zay coming in at 5-2, 1080, 78. We got Dougie, 1727 at 984.32. He's got all his fab at 100. Pablo Escobar comes in at 5-2, 3-game win streak. He's comes in at 956, and he has all his fab money left. And then Cash 3 at 5-2, 947. Yet again, all 4 teams are at 5-2. So very, very Gambit and Colossus are very competitive leagues. That's what we like to see. Very competitive leagues. So now we're at 5 Nightcrawler. We got Jesse 24 coming in at 1064, and he's fresh out of shekels. No more cash for him. We got Grizz Tony Candlewicks comes in at 1023. He's got almost all his fab left, $98. Mr. Ben comes in at number 3, 983. He's got most of his money. Or pretty much all of his money, and then 28 Wizard King comes in at 4 at 1059, and he has all his money. So if you notice here, and then number 5, we got Pablo Escobar. He's got all his money. So we got four teams up here that really haven't spent hardly any fab money, and they're sitting up in the upper standings, which is really good. We're off to number 6, Phoenix. We got team Kenning 22 at 1073. He's 5-2. Mr. Ben is 5-2, 1080, 1058, 12. He's out of cash. Scofflaw 86, 990, 62. And then the Depth Crusaders Part 2. We got Sklem coming in at number 4. And this is the league that the trade went down. So Mr. Ben was in 2nd. And then D. Cardi, I think, was in 9th at that point. But all these teams are 5-2. And Sklem, you're not spending any money. What's up?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that right guy. Like, that's one of the things that we didn't talk about. That's another one of those oddities this year is I don't think we've really had that big, huge guy that's come out that's like, hey, there was this injury. You're going to get this guy. He's going to be a stud. Spend all your money. Get him. Make sure you get him. We haven't had that guy. So I really haven't seen a whole lot of reason to put too much forward, and people are outbidding me.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you're hanging in there. Sitting at number 4. All right. Number 7, Iceman. The Toon Squad, Mr. Ben. His name's been pretty familiar popping up in these lists. 91838. TD Exorm comes in at 2nd. 1330. Bada Bing 6611. 1057.26. He's pretty much got all his cash. And then Cash 3 comes in at number 4 and at 971.36, and he is fresh out of ducats.
Cash got no cash.
And Mr. Ben 6-1. So now we're gonna head off to everyone's favorite league, Deadpool. Coming in number 1's Ketting 22 again. He's at 1082.62. Grizz Tony comes in at 771.60. Zoobs, Wade Wilson comes in at 3. Nice score, 1,115.30. Only down to $9, but that's pretty nice score, and you're sitting at 3rd place. And then Sigma 1234 at 943.48. So unfortunate for Zoobs. He's got 902 points scored against him. But he still got a pretty decent score. So I'm sure he'll be, by the time this all ends out, I'm sure he'll be in the top 4.
And he's only one game out of the first place right now, too.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's hurting or anything.
Number 9, Mr. Sinister. That's Team Z 2403. He's 6-1. Another
pride. Good job.
Yeah, another big score. 1119.44. Cash 3 comes in at 2nd. 1075.08. Big Blue 079. 1016. And then JoJo Brocky Balboa comes in at 4th, 937. So another 6-1 team, Zay up there. So that's Sinister. And then our last league, Magneto. I'm not cussing. Grizz Tony 6-1, 4-game win streak. another big score, 11-23-06. Twin Sanity. He's part of that Costco group that came over and brought a lot of gamers to us. We appreciate that. Comes in at second, 10-54-76. Mutant RB Bullies, that's cash 3, $974 or 974 points. And then Mr. Ben comes in at 4. Oppressed Individuals, 916.92, and he is fresh out of cash. So that is our high stakes leagues. We will now move on to the player statistics for week 7.
Whoop.
This is something I update every week. So you got that, Sean?
Yep. Just give me 1 second here. I'm just moving my way through it. Navigation station over here.
So this gets updated every week. And on the left, the top 10 overall records, you can see Grizz Tony as in Magneto has the top points, and he's a 6-1 record. So he's at top of the mountain out of all the 6-1s. And then if you notice here, you got Mr. Ben's in first place in 2 leagues. Zay's in 2403's in first place in 2 leagues. We have Ketting 22's in first place in 2 leagues. So that's pretty good for those 2 guys being in first place in 2 leagues. If you go over to the right, the top 10 overall most points, even though Keith Richards, he isn't a 6-1 team, but he has the most points at 1126.5, and that's in Gambit. And then you can see Grizz Tony, 1123, Zay, 1119. So work your way down the list. We have everyone's over 1,000 points. So that's pretty good. So it only took to week 7 before all 10 teams are over 1,000 points. So congrats to all those players. And then what I have at the bottom highlighted in yellow are the most top 4 playoff positions. So basically that breaks down to teams that are in the top 4 in their particular standings for their leagues. Mr. Been Doing This is in 5. Mr. Been Doing This is in all 10 leagues. So congratulations to that. So in 50% of the leagues that Mr. Ben is in, he's in the top. He is in a playoff position. So that's really, really good. Cash is in 4. Zay 2403 is in 4, and then Grizz Tony is in 3. So that wraps up our high stakes for the week. And yeah, so that wraps that up. And then as far as the rest of today, the rest of this podcast goes, we just would like you guys to like and subscribe to the podcast. Also go to theballsvillegames.com to get all your fantasy needs. The tool section is awesome for DFS, awesome for season long, tons of stats. And when you guys go on there, I know some people have gone on there and said, "Oh, I didn't even know you had this stuff on, particular stuff on there." There's a lot of stuff on there. The way that it's laid out, you got to like scroll all the way down. So use the whole page because the tools go all the way down to the whole page. So use the whole page for that. And then don't forget, like we said, this Sunday, we'll have our Ballsville-a-thon for all the that were affected in the hurricane down in Florida. Please come in. If you can afford to donate, that's great. If you just want to come in and BS with us and talk football and fool around, you'll have different podcast personalities pop in and watch the game. We'll have Red Zone on, and we'll be talking about games and stuff like that. Talking about food. Everyone likes the food. We'll be talking about food. So definitely get into that. And then one more quick thing before we leave. Definitely check out the pod on Monday that Sean and Connor host. It's the Guillotine Leagues. It's really fun. They do Sean does a great job going over the leagues. The opening the opening intro is hilarious. If you don't laugh about the opening intro with Tortoise, that's hilarious. I laugh at that all the time. And then like we said in the early and on the month, like they said on the Monday's pod, next week we will go over our first ever triathlon league. We will be 1 week away from the guillotine section of the league. So the triathlon league, if you are new to it, it's a game we created for you guys. This year's the pilot league. Next year we are going to fully ramp the leagues, and it starts off with the normal redraft where you play head to head for standings. By week 9, it gets into guillotine, and then by week 14, we get down to the Final Four. It goes into best ball. So if you're interested in learning more about the triathlon, you can go to theballsvillegame.com or just tune in on Monday at 11:30. Are you going to start doing 11:30 now, Sean?
Yeah, we're gonna stick to the 30 time frame. Just make sure that those games are over on Monday.
Okay, great. So yeah, definitely check them out. It is definitely a great watch. So for my co-host Sklem, for the good old boy Connor down in West Texas, until Friday, folks, have a great week, and we are out.